We are back. Yes, another episode, fun-filled extravaganza of the Main Street Randyland YouTube channel. Yay! I'm getting a little giddy, I'm getting a little fun because I will be opening the arcade very soon. I'm over here getting ready, but you know, the camera guy was here, so I wanted to show him a few things before I opened, and one of the things that I'm not going to sit here and play with while I'm opening the store, people would think I'm a little touched or something like that, but you know, I really like old stuff. Don't you like old stuff? I mean, if you appreciate it, you know what it is. It's really cool. And I remember growing up as a kid watching the old movies, the old black and white movies. You know, there's people, I speak to hundreds of people every year in the arcade. I get to speak to so many people, and I get to hear their views and their outlooks. Do you know there are many, many young adults, we're not even talking teenagers, young adults, who will tell me that they have never seen a black and white film, ever. I'd say, how is that possible? I said, you've never seen a black and white TV show? Never. They've never seen I Love Lucy, Leave It to Beaver. They've never seen any of this stuff. But you know, when you watch those old films, you get to see a lot of old-time culture that's really very interesting. And one of the things that stands out to me is a lot of these were depicted on the sidewalks of New York. And typically they would have, you know, the Italian section, and, you know, they had the guy shaving the ice, making the snow cones. You know, we'd shave ice from a block and he'd put it in a cone and put a little syrup on it with snow cones back in the day. And that's interesting, that's fun. I mean, where did this guy get this ice, and what's he scraping it with, some rusty thing, you know, just the horror of even eating that. But they did it, and they were perfectly fine. And another interesting one was the organ grinder, turning the organ with the monkey that would come over with his little tin cup, and he'd go looking for, you know, pennies from the kids, or, you know, whatever, and he worked for pennies. And the Italian guy with the big mustache is turning the crank, and the Hurdy-Gurdy is playing, and the monkey is dancing around with his little hat on. I mean, this is a gone era. You don't see it. When's the last time you saw a monkey grinder? I mean, really, a Hurdy-Gurdy, a monkey grinder. When's the last time you saw somebody standing there with a monkey turning the crank and making the music? Well, stuff like that is wonderful. It's so, it just warms your heart. So when I got an opportunity, I had to buy a monkey organ. I mean, when you buy a monkey organ, you gotta have at least one. So I ended up with two. Well, why do you want two? You know, I got them over here, and they're sitting here. I'm gonna move them out of here because I gotta put them in a better spot than this. But you know, they're covered with dust because I haven't touched them in a while. Gee, I hope they still work. I have two of these monkey organs, and it's just a box, and it's got some cranks. You know, there's not a lot to it. And I guess the guy would have, you know, straps attached to it. He put it around his neck. And, you know, I'm going to sit there, and they're not particularly loud. You know, I'll show you inside here. Look at this. This is pretty interesting. This works on the same principle as your player piano and your carousel band organs. Look at that. It's a paper roll. And the roll goes over your block bar with your holes that's going to make your sounds and send the direction of air to the proper valves. I mean, how neat is that? And then he could, from the top, he could change his roll. So you close your flap and you start turning. Am I turning the right direction? I don't even know. No, wait a minute. Oh, I got to get it to catch on the hook. Here's a hook, all right. And we got to close our flap. Isn't that wonderful? Can't you just picture the monkey jumping up and down? I can. Now, interesting, the way this works is a little bit different than your band organ. And I'll tell you why. The reason I had to close my door is this door actually has a rubber seal going all around the door. Okay? And unlike the band organs and the player pianos, these holes are not restricting vacuum. Now, I don't know if you understand what I'm saying here. On the band organ, underneath this paper, you have your holes, and the holes are covered by the paper. And when there's a hole that goes over the holes, it causes the air to go into the hole because it's sucking from the back through a vacuum. And that causes the valve to engage and then causes the compression blow box to send the air through the pipes to make the sound. This also has a bellows, which is what I'm turning in order to make the unit run. But what's really, really different about this is there's no vacuum being sucked through these holes. It's actually the air from the bellows being pressed through the holes. It's an opposite system. So it doesn't have all those valves that the other unit had. And the only thing that's stopping the sound going through the different pipes in order to make the different tones is the paper covering the holes. So this has to close tightly because that has to make a seal. So when I'm turning, I'm forcing air into this top chamber where the roll is and turning the paper, so when holes come across, it's allowing the pressed air to go through that hole to then come out through the tone reed section in order to make the sounds. You eliminate all your valves. It's really ingenious. You don't have any of the valves that you have on the other thing. But the downside is I can't get a tremendous amount of volume out of a unit like this, whereas the band organs are really loud because they have those big bellows blowing with heavy pressure, and you saw the paper blowing on my last episodes where I did those, band organs. You cannot force that much pressure through that paper because it'll just blow by and rip the paper. So it's a lighter duty just for what it is. So it's really interesting the way they thought that out, that they could make this in a model that's short. Now to rewind it, inside here is simply a slip clutch. And if I go backwards, the slip clutch will engage the back roller. But I guess the oils need to be redone. It's probably not slipping back far enough to engage the back roller. It's turning the front roller. So I would actually have to probably just rewind this by hand, because that should happen when I turn backwards on it. But I would have to take this apart here and probably re-grease the clutch that slips it, so when I turn it the other way it goes back. But you see it uncovering the holes. As it goes by, it's simply covering the holes that it doesn't want air to go through. When you see a paper roll on a player piano or a band organ or anything of that type, you're actually seeing the predecessors of computers. This is a computer program because a computer works in the same way. People think computers just do stuff. They don't. They do stuff really fast. That's what they do. A computer does one function at a time. Think of it like a motion picture. Motion picture is many frames, like still pictures, but when they're run fast, it looks like it's coming alive and it's motion. It's really not motion. It's individual things happening really fast. So that's what a computer program is. It's doing one function, then the next function, then the next function, but so fast that you just appear like it comes up on your phone or whatever. It's the same thing as this paper. Each hole punched is a function. When computers first started, they had punch cards. That's how you programmed it. You punched it to tell the program what it wanted to do. Really, really amazing. For the day, they had these like in the late 1800s, 1900s, sidewalks in New York in 1920, the monkey grinder, he was over there. So then somebody wants to get complicated with stuff. Things don't have to be complicated. See how simple that is, how neat that is? Well, this one is a remake. I'm laughing. They took something really, really simple and they turned it into a complex monster. This one runs off of battery power. And I open my little flap and it will actually light up. It has got a little computer in it. I mean, how absurd. Beer barrel polka, blue diamond waltz, chicken rolls. Well, let's go back to the Blue Daniel waltz. That's fun. Now I'm going to hold it a second because I want to show you this. This is pretty ingenious. You know, when I turned the Hurdy-Gurdy of the early times, I could turn that paper slower or faster. I actually have a tempo control by how quickly I turn the handle. Can you see this? Tempo right now, 98%. All right, I'll watch this. I got to show you the inside to this because I find this really interesting. Now remember, I showed you the inside of the other one. It was a paper roll. It was very simple. You can't make anything simple today. Nothing can be simple. Let's see, we got to be able to open this here. I bet if I take this off, pull out the pins, I could probably pull off the back door. Ah, look at this. Unbelievable. These are all solenoid valves that have to open to make the different tones. All right, here's my battery source, and this is coming from my bellows. So it's got to have a double bellows, just like the big machine had in order to have, full volume. So when we turn the handle, look, it's a rocker. I want to show you something else inside. Look at this. Now, I don't know if we're going to get the volume anymore. We have a computer board, we have a display board, Look at this stuff. I mean, all this they did with a paper roll. I mean, really. You got to go to such extremes. And for your tempo control, look at this. Magnetic reed switch and magnets. Every time that magnet goes by, it's telling the magnet how quickly I'm turning this by pulses from the reed switch of the magnets. I mean, it's interesting, it's fun, but isn't the paper roll much more fun? I think so. I get a kick out of it. And this even has a MIDI card where I can pull out the card and I can program on other MIDI songs. Now, if you know what MIDI is, it's a type of language that is used for automations, and different systems use MIDI. A lot of player pianos that are more modern use MIDI. Well, you gotta love it. You gotta love it. I'll take the paper roll any day, because when one of those boards goes bad, I got a big problem. We'll see you next time. The Main Street Randy Land YouTube channel. I just got to get a monkey to jump along with me. Wouldn't that be fun? Give him a little tin cup. And you never saw a black and white film, huh? Now the editor should make this part black and white and put a little Photoshop mustache.